So nothing but the best for our truck. And I got some of this pooky stuff. What is up, everyone? Welcome back to the Orange Wires Garage YouTube channel. In the last episode, we purchased this 2015 Toyota Tacoma double cab, and this is the Extreme Off-Road Edition. And we had some damage to the door, some damage to the rocker, and some damage to the bed, and we jumped straight on that, and we got everything all fixed up, and we got some primer on this truck. We bought a brand new bedside, and this is the aftermarket bedside. And we went ahead and sprayed that in already using some new clear coat that somebody gave us. They wanted us to try. It's made locally here in a neighboring state just over on the edge of Blairsville, Georgia. So let's go ahead and get our truck sanded down. Let's get it in the booth. Let's get everything painted. We still got a ton of work to do to this truck. So let's get started and let's get it done. So I do work a lot here at the shop by myself, and this lift, it comes in really handy for setting beds off of trucks. I mean, it makes just a one-man job out of this. And I know you're thinking, Mike, why in the world did you take the bed back off? You already had it on the truck. And well, I did, but this is a salvage title truck. I needed to get my pictures to it for the state before I set in and worked on this rear end. And I wanted my paperwork to be coming back from the state so I could legally drive this thing on the road, because the rebuilt title process is a little bit involved. Can go over that sometime with y'all if you're interested in how we do it here in Tennessee. Comment below. I'll be glad to explain it. But let's go ahead and put this bed down on the bed stand. One of the things that I really love about these Toyota Tacoma trucks is these bedsides bolt on, and they're really just super easy to get off. And you don't even have to take the bed off the truck. You can just scoot it back a little bit right there. It gives you enough room to get it off if you want to. I just like to use the lift to set the bed off the truck. It makes my life a lot easier, and you can get to all the bolts. So to get one of these bedsides off, this is how you do it. Once you get the bed back, then you just got to remove these 10mm bolts here, and then behind this little thing here, on each end, there's a little T30 bolt, and there's a series of them down through here. There's 4 of them on the short bed, and that's a T30, but you got to remove this little clip as well. And back at the back, these bolts right here are the ones that hold the tail light, so those probably already be off. But then you got these 12mm for the latch. They got to come off. This T40's got to come out that holds the safety cable here. And then these bolts, these 2, and there's one down here on the bottom. And you can see these little clips around, these little clips, they can just come out, and this piece of rubber can come off. Once you get those off, the next thing you want to tackle is probably going to be the fender flare. You just take the series of bolts around out of the fender flare and then kind of just slide it back. And then I use this little clip tool, and it can go right in behind and just cut those clips out. And I cut every one of those out, but don't pull on the flare. Just kind of ease it back, but don't pull it loose because it will break the tabs. And then up top, there are 2 clips that go up here that hold the fender liner. And then once you get the fender liner out, you can use this tool to just release the blue and orange clips. And that'll take special care of the fender flare, so you don't have to try to glue a bunch of tabs back on or buy a new one of those, because this flare for the bedside is even aftermarket. It's like $250. So really expensive flare. So it's got 1 bolt for the brace at the back. So the 2 up front are right in here, 1 on the bottom right there, and 1 right behind this flare. And once you get the 2 clips out of this trim piece up top, I just wiggle it back and forth and kind of get it started, and then just ease it right off, because you don't want to break those clips. They can get a little bit brittle, but if you just work it back and forth with your hand, it'll just come right off. I know it sounds like a lot, but really in just a few minutes you can have one of these bedsides off. They're really, really easy to get off and get put back on, and I absolutely love them. Like any other bed that I fool with, you're drilling out a bunch of wells or getting rid of a bunch of panel bond. But these, just mostly 10mm bolts, a couple of 12s, T30 and a T40, and you've got this bedside off. I'm gonna work on this exhaust, because I got this new tailpipe, and I wanna try to get it welded in, and then we've got to get this rear end pulled out. We're gonna get the truck up on the lift, check out the exhaust, check out the rear end. Give us plenty to do today while it's nice and cold. So let's stop talking. Let's start working. And then the new tailpipe, it just slid right into the muffler. So I can just tack it right here in a few spots, because I've got the muffler and the exhaust hanging in all of the hangers and looking exactly like it's supposed to look. And coming right out the side the way it's supposed to come out. Even put my little stainless steel tip right back on there. So I'm gonna get the welder out since everything's fitting really good. And I'm gonna tack it just all the way around. Then I'm gonna take it back out and weld it up solid. And then that part will be done and we can move on to the rear end. I had a really good time when I started tacking that thing in there. So I just welded it while it was in. I mean, no harm, no foul on that. And then I jumped straight to the rear end here and I pulled both the plugs, the one drain plug down below and the fill plug above, and I started draining all of that stuff. Made a little bit of mess, I always do. So then I took the 4 nuts off the axles and I scooted it out, and I took every one of these brake line holders off of the rear end to let the brake lines go out with it. So I've got it just scooted out and just barely enough to get that carrier loose. So I'm gonna take all of these bolts out right here, every one of those, and then I'm gonna set that carrier right out on the ground. So it should be easy enough. We just take those bolts loose, set it out, clean it up, seal it up, put it right back in, torque everything down, slide the axles back in, hook the brake lines back up. We should be all set. I know it sounds easy, but it's a lot of work. So I'm gonna jump straight on that rear end and get it pulled out. So I'm gonna check in here really good for any kind of pits or cracks or anything like that, because this is where the axle flexed a little bit, and this is a carrier. So we're gonna get all that cleaned off and cleaned up, looking like spick and span like new. And even with 150,000 miles, I mean, that differential looks really good. I mean, these Toyotas are tough as nails. Now, I got the carrier all cleaned up, got that surface all nice and shiny. I did the same for the housing. Checked it really good. There was no cracks or imperfections. So I've got this paper gasket, which is what it had on it. Like you can see the pieces right there. But I got a paper gasket and I got some of this pookie stuff. We'll put some of the pookie stuff and the gasket on there, torque everything down nice and tight. But you kind of have to do this stuff in stages. So I'm gonna put the pookie stuff on, put the gasket on, put the carrier in, and just snug everything up. And you gotta wait an hour before you torque it down tight. But basically the directions there, the long and short of it says, just put it on, finger tight, wait an hour, torque it down, and then you gotta wait 24 hours before you put the fluid back in. And we don't want any leaks, so we're gonna follow the instructions right to the T. So this is a genuine Toyota paper gasket, and the way that it's gonna go on to this rear end is with the writing on the outside. And almost every time, if not every time, when that axle gets shoved back, it breaks the e-brake cable or stretches it out. So I've been working on this one, and it's a little bit of a job. You got to tear into the drum and get to the back side of the brakes, brake shoes back there, and then the cable routes itself up through here and up under the cab. And it's got 2 or 3 brackets that are kind of aggravating. And then it's got that little rubber grommet, and it pokes right through the floorboard. And then we can hook it up and adjust it up and get it working like it should. Got the rear end all torqued down to 28 foot-pounds. You can see that pookie stuff is just oozing out the edges. But hopefully no more leaks on that. And we gotta wait 24 hours before we put fluid back in there. I picked up some at Walmart. You can see right here that this is Valvoline and this is number 1. So nothing but the best for our truck. And this truck's got a leveling kit. So I've got this add-a-leaf. I'm gonna have to take that spring apart, replace the tie bolt on both sides, because this side over here, that add-a-leaf is broke. So while we're waiting on that pookie stuff to dry, we might as well put in our add-a-leaf, get our lift kit going, then we can get the truck bed put back on, kind of get everything going our way. But I think I'll wait on that bed till I get the differential full of fluid. It's just that much easier if I do. But I'm gonna go ahead and work on these little add-a-leafs, get those put in. We should be one step closer to having this truck right back on the road. Went ahead and put both of those add-a-leafs in, get the tires put back on, the brake cables back on, everything is back together. We just gotta wait that 24 hours for that pookie stuff to dry. Then we're gonna pull it outside and clean up the frame rail, jump on that carpet, jump on the seats and get all of it cleaned up and shined up and get this truck looking like brand new. But I think I ran out of time for this video, guys, but definitely stay tuned for the next one. We'll get this thing cleaned up. We'll see how it all looks. We'll break down the cost 100% and see where we're at. And don't forget to give us a follow on Instagram at Orange Wires Garage. We'll catch you guys next time in the next episode. We're out.